SpeedRailz has crowned a brand new champion here for Austin, Texas. We're at Cabana Club, and we just wrapped up our final championship for the SpeedRailz competition. Now, Q, let's go do a little breakdown, man. What'd you see?
So we got a lot of people in Austin that, you know, they claim that they are the fastest, the best. But in all reality, it all comes down to a bunch of technicalities and things that, you know, what makes SpeedRailz so different is that there are rules and technicalities, like actual sports things, you know. So it's not also, are you the fastest, but what are you doing on the technical side and on the knowledge portion of everything that we do in SpeedRailz. And I feel like with Austin in particular, that was like one of the main things that differentiated who was gonna advance and who didn't, because there was definitely a lot of people that you could see did not read the rules or did not go over them as much as they should have. So I do think that in those aspects, no matter what your speed is, know the rules. What I've noticed with Austin in general in particular is that out of all the ones we've done, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, every competitor is walking around, even when they're not competing, they're reading those recipes. They're studying those recipes. And here, everybody, I would say two people, you got Connor, you got Nate, they were just walking around looking at recipes all the time, and they made it to the finals, you know? I think that with those things in particular, no matter how comfortable you think you are knowing them, it's always best to keep that fresh in your head. Because there's a difference in SpeedRailz that I tell everybody, no matter how good you are, when those lights are on and people are screaming at you, yelling, oh, the pressure is on for real. So it's a completely different component when you're at home at your own well. Like, even for me, I get anxious. Even when I do it still to these days. That one time that we did in San Antonio, you know, I was a little lit, but I got put on into the spot and, you know, the pressure's on. You know, it's a thing. And I think I'm pretty decent. So each competitor has to study these rules, study these cocktails, and know the difference between, hey, this is what I know I need to do versus what SpeedRailz does, right? Because then you had people like Mikey, you know, who this is his, you know, home turf. And just me watching him, I could see the nervousness, the jitters come in of things that he was asking me questions before, like, we even started about where everything is and stuff like that. I knew he knew his home bar. But then I also saw as soon as he pressed that button to go, mind blank. So it's definitely a pressure thing that I've noticed when it comes to SpeedRailz, and knowing those recipes by heart can take a lot of that pressure off. So
absolutely, I think that's a huge part of understanding what you're gonna do as soon as you hit that start button, because it is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
You do have to build up this this rapport with who you are as a bartender under this organization. Even if you have home turf or not, that doesn't matter. That all goes out the window, because as soon as you start that clock, it's go time. Earlier, we were talking about coasters. We had a few bartenders that were putting all of their drinks directly on that coaster before even building. And then on the other end, we even had our champion Nate, who didn't serve one of his drinks, didn't put that coaster on us, so that doesn't even count. So understanding your coaster placement and where everything is, it seems like that aspect was rather lackluster in this tournament.
Yeah, it was definitely, out of all the ones I've judged so far, I would say Austin had probably the most competitors making all of their drinks on coasters. I think, like I said, one of the main things is definitely reading the rules, and that once you understand that, if you go over these rules, you know, it's like second nature. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I know not to put these on coasters, right? But then you also have people who, when doing those kind of things, we also have this rule about making shots, right? You don't take shots alone. That's one of the things in SpeedRailz, right? Who wants to take a shot alone? I don't, you know, I can, but it's, you know, camaraderie and things like that, you know?
Absolutely.
So all shots are made in pairs in SpeedRailz. We had people not making two shots. They were just making one shot and sending it off like that, you know? So and I think we reiterate this enough. Like, all shots are made in pairs. Even with prelims, you know, hey, shots are made in twos. And I think that once you get like comfortable, like halfway through, we had Claudia as well, one of our competitors, you know, she just made one mind eraser instead of two, right? You had somebody make a Texas, or what is it?
So
blue tea.
At one point, yes, we did have one of the contestants, Rick, make a blue tea drink instead of a shot. And understanding the recipes is going through and actually taking the time to read and know these by heart is imperative. And this was an issue even in the finals.
Oh yeah.
It came down to penalties in the finals. It was a rough one.
Yeah, no, so we had crowd favorites though. We had people like Emma, who every Austin competition I've seen her in, she's probably getting the most mad love out there. Like, and it is upsetting for sure because her round came down to seconds, literally 2 seconds. And this is all from just penalties, right? Connor that round was smooth. He seemed composed. He seemed like he was just taking slow and just relaxed, you know? But
cool, calm,
collected, right? Those things matter when you're doing these kind of things. It's not so much about speed, but the technicality of how you execute those things, right? Because you can go fast, right? Emma finished, like 2 minutes faster than him?
Almost.
But then, you know, those penalties come into play.
Yeah, they did.
And then you get down to these scenarios where you have a crowd favorite getting kicked out and because of a 2 second difference, you know. So
because you just didn't execute.
It's those cleanly battles, and I've noticed that as we get competitors that move through the competition and they slowly start to climb up, that confidence builder is a thing. They're like, okay, you know, I can do this. Now let me keep doing what I'm doing. Or they start to get sloppier and sloppier because they're like, wait a minute, now the pressure's on even more. Let me go faster. Now, when you're going faster, you're forgetting these steps of execution to help you not get so many penalties.
That being said, I do want to touch on the elephant in the room. We had a disqualification. We had a few of those for the qualifiers too. There's one of the
we had a jigger
rules.
drop.
We had the jigger drop.
Yeah.
Evan came all the way from Dallas. He destroyed in the craft cocktail. I loved his cocktail. But when it comes to the speed portion of it, he just had that one thing. He dropped his jigger, and that's just one of the 2 rules that can get you disqualified.
That is probably the dark horse for sure in the competitions. I feel like out of all the comps, out of everything that happens, because I've seen this competition in particular, in my well at least, I had 3 bartenders drop their entire drink and just had to start all over. You know, I understand firsthand that feeling. I've done that as well, but I don't think there's a feeling compared to seeing somebody drop their jigger.
No,
that aspect, because one part of it is in your head, you know you lost already.
Yeah,
like that's it, you know. But it's that drive afterwards to keep going,
to finish
strong, you know, because it is a mental fortitude that you have to have after that. As a bartender in a competition, you're like, wait a minute, what now? What? You know, I just lost due to something that was a technicality in this competition, you know. And props to him because he did finish. You know, I know the pressure of afterwards, you know, hey, what am I gonna do now? Yeah. You know, so you finished strong in those cases, but we had a DQ. The jigger drop happened, and as somebody who was his judge, I literally just saw the fire leave after that. And it sucks to see because these people are good bartenders.
That they are.
Yeah, they are good bartenders, you know, but that jigger drop, it's a soul crusher.
Yes.
You know,
I mean, that is one of the 2 rules that can get you disqualified. And I do want to touch on the other rule, which is breaking glass in your eyes. We almost had that happen in Dallas, and we almost had that happen here. So one thing I do want to touch on is what I'm going to go as far as is called bad habits. Well, we did have Claudia. She was grabbing her soda gun and throwing it out of the way, but in that she kept throwing it on top of her glassware and ended up offside of that, she ended up breaking one of the martini glasses completely off the well, so it doesn't count.
Okay.
Yes, and it was, she just kept throwing that soda gun off to the side just to get it out of her way. But although it was now out of her way, it was creating that scenario where we could have glass in the ice, which would end up getting you disqualified. And those are the 2 rules to get you out.
Got it. I mean, yeah, I was wondering where the glass, or how that happened, but I guess I feel like with me in particular on my end, what I kept seeing too was just like situational awareness with placement. They were not aware of anything where they were putting. Something you said earlier about bottle placement, right? So we give these guys a 2.5 minute start, you know, you can prep your garnish, you can rearrange the bottles in your well to how you feel comfortable, to where you're able to just reach, grab, and go. So many of these bartenders were so lost in their bottle placement.
Yeah, I was astonished whenever we got to the semifinals, because in the semifinals, not only we knocked out half the crew, but at this point we had 3 veterans, 1 rookie. All 4 of them were looking through their bottles. They placed them wherever they wanted, wherever it felt natural. And we had that happen in Houston as well, where although brands of bottles might change, the spirit is still the same. And we tape them in order to, you know, clarify everything. If you're looking down for yellow tape for your tequila, so on and so forth. And the idea that we made it to the semis, and like I said, 3 of them are veterans. They're used to this competition, and we're at the point where we're still looking for bottles, looking all frantic. It's kind of disappointing.
Yeah, nah, man. It disappointing, but it also racks up time, a lot of time. I mean, I feel like with on my end that I saw, I'm not gonna say names, but I definitely was like, okay, you've been looking for about 30 seconds for a bottle. That's gonna add up, you know. The fact that you did not place this bottle where you are already comfortable knowing where it is, you know, that's a mistake on their end. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And garnish prep too. You know, there were people halfway through, they're like, oh my God, where's my garnish? They didn't garnish, they didn't prep anything beforehand, you know. So that matters. Picking up that orange, peeling, going to do that's adding more time, you know. I think, and that was more so on like the newbies going in, but also beforehand we do give a detailed description like, hey, you guys have this 2 minutes, place your bottle, prep.
Yeah,
you can do
whatever
those
you
kind
want.
of things, you know.
There's a lot of like just shaking off the nerves in that last 20-30 seconds that isn't being utilized with maximizing your movements.
Yeah, and I think too, also going all the way back to the topic of maximizing your movements is also maximizing your time when you're not competing, to keep your mind fresh on these recipes. That was the main thing I kept seeing on my end, was recipe knowledge. And Nate, I'm calling you out, my boy. That final, when you had to get help from the crowd for a surfer on acid.
That was tough to watch, and just because we were at the finals, and even the finals came down to drink knowledge.
Drink knowledge. Sometimes I feel like we do call this SpeedRailz, but don't let the speed portion ignore the technical craft side of bartending.
It's like the saying, hurry up and slow down.
Yeah, exactly. And slow and steady wins the race. That doing these competitions, especially if you make it to the final round, hold your composure.
Yeah.
Do not let that final round mess up all that you've been doing to make it there. If you've been taking it slow and steady that entire time, keep on doing that during that final round, you know.
I've harped on adaptability before, because every well is different and you're dealing with different components, and the lights and the camera and different brands and different pour spouts.
At least y'all don't have Henry talking shit at you while you're doing that.
That is fair. But I have talked about adaptability and how crucial it can be when you're going from one well to another, and just going in and having different tickets that you might not be used to, like a half sugar, half salt rim on a Manhattan, and a Negroni with tahini, and all this and that. The French 76 that was in the finals that both contestants messed up on. It's reading your tickets and slowing down. It's a lot of that composure, but nevertheless, we do have now, I think, a well-deserved king.
Well deserved.
A
Well-deserved.
well-deserved win here in Austin. Nate took that W. He is crowned the best bartender in Austin, Texas. And you know, he left with the prize money. He left with the bragging rights, and he also gets to compete against San Antonio, Dallas, and
Houston.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
he gets to compete against San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and represent Austin in that state tournament.
Yeah. And again, Nate, well deserved. Buddy, you've been working hard, and I know how bad he wanted this win, and I'm glad he got it.
Yeah,
You know, it was well deserved.
He got the comeback season that he deserved.
And yeah, again, one bartender had to rise against everybody else, so that we can crown who's going to be the best in Texas coming up. And you know, it's going to be who's the most consistent. You know, who has the speed, who has the technical skills. You know, there's so many different bartenders. There's so many bartenders out there, and everybody that I've met so far, they do think they're the best. You know, and the lessons that I've learned from me competing is that, and from me judging, always know your recipes. I feel like once you flip that ticket and you look and you just know your recipes, the rest comes easy. The rest is just out of there, just cleanliness and knowing the knowledge portion of your cocktails. That's the main thing that I've seen in judging that messes everyone up, is not knowing what goes in that drink when they flip that ticket.
I mean, if you want to be the very best that no one ever was, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the main things that I love about SpeedRailz, why I'm so passionate about this, is the lessons learned while doing this.
Yeah.
You know, competitions like this push bartenders to be better, right? It's not so more so of like, yes, I am fast. Are you clean? Are you knowledgeable? How technical are you? And that's one thing that I love about SpeedRailz that has made me a better bartender, that I've taken these things from SpeedRailz, from my losses, from my high ranks and finals, to my everyday craft now at my workplace and what I do on the side, you know. And I think everybody that I can say that I've met in SpeedRailz can say the same thing. It's definitely giving a different outside, a different look onto your own craft and what you think you're good. Do SpeedRailz. then talk to me.
Yeah,
you know?
mess around and find out.
Yeah, so
We have our 4 champions. We have Rye, San Antonio,
Yeah.
Dustin representing Houston, Nate now representing Austin, and Alan representing Dallas. All of them will have to go battle it out to see who's going to be the best in
that's
Texas.
gonna be good. It's gonna be real
good.
good. I cannot wait for that one. It's gonna be explosive. There are definitely predictions already out there for people, and I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait to be there for it. So, but tune in for that. It's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be an electric time. It always is. And hey, if you think you're the best, let us know. We want to see it.
Pull up.